Hello, and welcome to an intro to Anthro with two humans. I'm human number one, John McCray.
And I'm human number two, John Lehr.
And this is the podcast where we reassess what it means to be human. And the title of this episode is The In Crowd, the relationship between taste, popularity, and status.
Yes.
so
Finally,
John,
the most important episode.
If you get anything out of this podcast, then hopefully this one will help you in your own personal life, I think.
And happy New Year's Day to everybody. Happy New Year's Day.
Happy New Year's Day. It's actually, right now we're recording, John, it's New Year's Eve morning.
God.
And while everyone else is out getting noisemakers and hats and champagne, you and I are recording an episode of our podcast.
Yeah.
There's no that kind of shows you how we come right up to the wire. Right up to the wire.
We're playing it. We're dangerous. We're playing it dangerous.
Yeah. I'm actually, for people who have been following us on Facebook, because that's the only thing I know how to do, we have been traveling. My wife and I, and my brother and sister-in-law, have been traveling around New Mexico for the holidays, and I'm actually coming to you from the Lodge Resort in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, at 9,000 feet.
That's amazing. Yeah, you sound you sound good. You sound like you have some timbre to your voice, which maybe the altitude is a part of.
I think it is.
What are you in your bedroom? Are you in your hotel room? Where are you exactly?
We're in the hotel room. If you can look around, I've set up on a little tiny desk in the hotel room. It's an old hotel that was built originally in 1899. Then that one burned down, so they built it again in 1911.
Okay,
yeah, all those old hotels used to burn down.
Yeah, everything burned down. Well, I was in Europe, and everything had been bombed and redone. I'm like, look at this old building. When was it built? 1945.
That's awful. Everything is 1945. 1945.
Yeah.
But this one supposed to be haunted. So we'll see what happens.
I just saw something move behind you.
Really? My brother thinks he had some. My brother and sister-in-law said they had some activity last night. So
oh my God! Well, your brother has some investigation. He's into ghosts. Yeah. He's in. So are you? You like it? I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
I'm critical, but I'm skeptical. Not skeptical, but I think we discussed it in our show.
Yes.
It's like I always like to try to debunk things first.
Yes.
But anyway, we may check Facebook for updates on that one. So to get to this episode, John, the reason for the topic of taste is not too long ago, my wife, Mary, said to me, she said, you should do something about taste. And I don't know if she was meaning me personally or if we should do an episode on taste.
And did she mean like taste, like the sense of taste?
I think she was thinking like taste and like our taste in music, our taste in art.
Are you sure? She could have meant,
don't know.
Bitter, sweet, getting into that.
I hope she didn't, because I've done a whole research on like taste in art. So
she's sitting there over on the hotel bed going, oh man, should I tell him?
She is sitting over there. So John, first of all, I just want to start by asking you, do you have good taste? Do you consider yourself to have good taste?
No, I don't. I don't have good taste. Not in either sense of the word. Like I can't taste things very well because I did a lot of blow in the 90s. Yeah. And I think that's it, but because I have a terrible sense of smell. But I know that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about taste. And I grew up. My parents didn't have taste. I mean, it just wasn't an important thing, like style or taste. I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I do.
So what do you think of when you think of bad taste? Like, can you recognize bad taste?
That I can do. Yes, bad taste is like an old white guy in a Porsche, in a brand new Porsche, or almost everyone in a Tesla.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just like that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Right.
Yeah. To me, bad taste is somebody who flaunts some aspect of themselves in a crass way.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Do you think they're aware of it, or do you think it's just something that they're embodying who they are when they do it? What are your thoughts on that when
I
you see
think
it?
it's it always feels bad taste to me, always feels like it's inauthentic. Like
Right.
that they are trying. It's like if you're trying to be cool, you're never going to
Right.
be cool. The
Right.
Fonz
Right.
never tried to be cool.
Yeah. He
Or
just
maybe he
was
did.
cool. He was
Anyway,
born
he just
cool.
was. He was born
Yeah.
cool. My kids are both really cool, but they're
Really?
not. Yes, but they don't try to be cool.
Yeah.
They're the real kind of cool. They're the kind of cool I was never. I was I was I don't even know what I was in high school. I was a
Yeah.
nerdy. I just wanted to be liked. I just
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
to be liked.
Did you ever consciously try to develop your taste? Was that something you ever consciously like, I'm going to look in, there's some people who will always, there's always that guy that like, yeah, I'm going to tell you the best wine. I'm going to tell you what,
Oh, I
yeah,
hate
this
those people.
cigar, this is the best cigar you can have. And, and it's like, oh, okay. All right.
Oh.
Just like,
Anybody who sticks their nose in a wine glass at a restaurant and spins it around, I don't care if that's something you should do
yeah.
for real.
Yeah.
You look like a douche.
Yeah.
It's there's a guy I know who has 5 degrees, 5, and he'll tell
Yeah.
everybody in the first few minutes that he's got 5 separate degrees, and that he knows everything about wine. And it's just
Yeah.
like, and he's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. So
Yeah.
I don't
They
know.
always
It
make a
comes,
point of that, like the best
yeah.
steak, I mean, it doesn't have to just be wine, but it can be anything,
Oh,
really.
I went to dinner with some foodies, and I thought he was inviting all of us and he was going to pick up the tab. No, no. And it was super expensive. I can't remember how much it was. It was like $600 dinner for just
Oh
2 of
god.
us, for me
Oh
and
god.
Jennifer. And
Yeah.
it was
Well,
most of the
600
bill.
for just the
Yeah.
2 of you, so
Yes. I was shocked. Like I had googly eyes. I went, "Duh?"
yeah.
and and he kept ordering wine for the table and all
Oh
this stuff.
god.
And here's how
God.
you know you're getting ripped off: when they
Yeah.
bring the check out in a special box or something. You know what I mean? It's not one
Yeah.
of those plastic things that they've dropped. This is like, it was like a wooden, everybody
Yeah.
got a wooden box. I was like, oh, fuck me. Because there were no
Yeah.
prices. It was a set
Yeah.
menu. He set the menu and
Oh,
ordered everything, and then we split the tab.
did they make you pay for the wine too? Did they?
Yes.
Even though you're not
Yes.
drinking it, you have to chip in
Yes.
for the wine. Yeah.
Right. And so
I
everybody
put
else
like
is like guggling it. That's what I would have
Yeah.
done too. If I was, I would have been drinking wine out my butt.
Remember when the Ed cast, they did a show in New York at one time
Yes.
when we were all living in Chicago and everyone went to New York. And I went out there to like direct it, I think, or
Yes.
to kind of help
Yes.
organize the thing. And
Yeah.
I was so broke at the time, but I had enough money to get me through the 2 weeks. I budgeted it out so I could get through the 2 weeks. The first night there, let's go out to eat in New York, like with a big group of 12 people, ordering the wine. I had had like a salad, salad and water. And then it was like, let's just make it easy. Let's split the bill. My whole 2-week budget was gone in one night.
Jesus, you should have said no. You should.
Yeah.
You got it, but
Yeah.
nobody wants to. I know. I wouldn't have. I'd done what you did.
But it was like, I'm not even drinking. And then it was like, let's get more wine. Let's get more wine. Just make it easy.
I'm so sorry that happened.
And then the rest of the time, it was just me walking the streets of New York in winter, which is horrible. Just
horrible
like,
if you can't go inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Eating
can't do
toast
anything.
and peanut butter for the rest.
That's like when we were broke in Paris. There's just nothing.
Yeah.
There's just nothing you can do.
I always say I've been to New York when I had no money, which was that time, and I've been to New York when I have money, and it's a lot more fun when you have money.
Yeah, New York City is a fun place, man.
Yeah. But anyway, in their article "Taste," Rachel Spronk and Christian Claufus say that taste concerns.
Spronk.
Yeah, that sounds like who were the people that used to do the robots? They were the robots. That couple.
Yeah. Shields and Yarnell.
Yeah, it's like Shields and Yarnell, Spronk and Claufus.
They're like the German version.
But very serious though. It's
very
not for humor.
serious.
It's just like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They do it to Kraftwerk. They're doing it. The music is Kraftwerk behind them. But Spronk and Claufus say that taste concerns both savoir-vivre and savoir-faire and is a window to a world of cultural practices. Okay. They then say that through taste, we position ourselves and understand the world. Taste concerns processes of communion through food, style, or knowledge, all of which communicate social positioning and relations of hierarchy.
So from that point of view, we all have taste. It's just different versions of it to kind of put us where we are, which makes total sense.
Right.
Because, that makes total sense. So I guess in that sense, I do have taste.
You do have taste. It's just not, it's not as developed or not as good. It doesn't get you as higher on the social hierarchy.
Right. Not at all. Although I have one good suit. I have one good suit. Everybody, you got to have one good suit, everybody.
Yeah. See, I'm all about shoes. Like I'm not into anything. I'm into glasses and shoes.
You always look good.
You put on expensive shoes, people are always like, okay.
Right. He's dressing
everything else looks like crap. Everything else looks like crap. But he's got on nice shoes, so he must know what he's doing. You know what I mean?
I think that's true. I think shoes play a big role, especially with men. Well, for women too, but I mean, I think with men, you'll offset a lot.
Yeah. I think, it's also like some people say, like, when they ask, hey, can you play the piano? It's like, well, yeah, I can play a piano. It may not be very good, but I can play a piano. It's like everybody can play it,
Can you play something on the piano?
No, I just bang around on it. But
okay.
but it's like I'm playing it. I'm playing that piano.
You're playing it.
Who is it? Franz Liszt. His piano used to be in one of the museums I worked at. And when no one was in the museum, we used to take turns playing Franz Liszt's piano. So I can say,
do that. What are you guys doing?
It was out. They would play it for concerts and stuff.
Okay.
We'd play like roll out. Like one of our people could play, and one of the guards, and so she would always play "Roll Out the Barrel" on Franz Liszt. I would do chopsticks, So I could say I played the piano. I played Franz Liszt piano from his last tour, but
I wish I knew how to play "Roll Out the Barrel."
I know, it'd be like we'd be in there by ourselves and just echoing through all the galleries. Roll out the barrel.
Let's have a barrel of fun.
So anyway, Spronk and Claufus, they quote Mary Douglas, who said, differences between good taste and bad taste create and represent a social hierarchy of connoisseurs and lay people. And that's what you were talking about just there. So
there's the people who are sniffing their wine, and then there are people who are eating potato skins.
Right.
At TGI Fridays.
When you guys, when you went out for that prefix, that menu that your friend got together, was he like guiding you through the whole thing? Was he like telling you what?
Oh, he knew everything about everything, was telling us what was coming next. And he's a foodie.
Yeah.
And it was, it was delicious. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It was delicious, but I don't know. I would have been happier with a Arthur Bryant's barbecue sandwich.
Yeah, me too. But there's a hierarchy there. He had created a hierarchy between you guys that he knew. He was
that, and I guess that's what I mean about inauthentic. It's about showing how smart you are, what you know that the other person doesn't know.
Right. Now let me ask you again, you've kind of alluded to it already, but did you consider yourself popular? Did you consider yourself to be in the popular group in high school or in junior high?
No. I fell in my place. Now, a lot of people knew me. I was a very visible person in high school. I didn't play it the way you played it. You played it down. You were in between, and I was not. I tried to. Because I was funny. My only talent was being sort of loud and funny. So I did forensics, which is the speech competitions where you did stuff, and so but I was never, ever, ever going to be in the popular group because I didn't play football. If you don't play football, they don't care how good you could, you're not going there.
Yeah, I always consider. Yeah, I mean, you had everything going for you. You had that Mustang. I mean, I always considered you to be part of the before we really met and got to know each other. I always like, I think that guy's part of the popular group. It seems like everybody likes him and he's got that Mustang.
Then you got to know me and realize, oh no, boy, I was wrong. Yeah.
He still has the car. He still has the car.
Oh, that car. God, wasn't that a great car?
It was a fantastic car. So, what was that? A
1970 Mustang Grande. So it wasn't the long hood. It was the shorter coupe vibe to it. It had a 351 Windsor, a Hurst shifter, Krager wheels, Jensen quadraxle speakers with a Jet Sound power booster. God damn, that car was amazing. And the guy I bought it from, speaking of taste, was exactly the version of me, but older. He was nerdy. He was, hardworking, but he loved having the car. And it was so funny. One nerd selling it to another.
Yeah. Passing it down. Hey.
Pass it down.
This will help you, brother.
It won't get you to the promised land, but it'll get you laid, which it did. It did.
Yeah. That car was, I remember being in that car going like over 100 miles, over 100 miles an hour. With a bottle of tequila between us, it had a little serape and a hat on. Remember?
Yeah, it had a sombrero. It sure did. And we were driving, and it was doing 100, no problem.
Yeah.
Like that thing was like, all right.
It settled down into it.
Yeah, at first it would shake, and it was a Ford, but once you got it over 70, it kind of found its groove.
Yeah,
it would take you 2.5 miles to get up to 70. Yeah, but once it did, it was
a little turbulence in there on the takeoff. But then once we got going, it was really. And I remember just like sitting there, like, wow. Like, I was looking. I kind of glanced over and saw we were going like 110, and then like, wow, we're going 110. And then you just driving like you're driving like 35 miles an hour, just like driving. And then that little bottle between us, just jiggling away, like it was having the time of its life.
It's so funny that memory sticks for both of us, because that's a very profound memory for me.
Yeah.
And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a gravel parking lot and I threw up all over myself.
Yeah. You were able to coast us in and park and then get out and throw up for about an hour and a half. Those are good times. Good. That's good taste. That's good
taste. That's it.
But you saved the car. You didn't throw up in the car because it had that.
Oh, this story is making me just a little nauseous. Like my stomach just went over the memory.
Hey, what was the story about you when you were TP'd? You were TP'd one time.
Yes. Well, okay. So in high school, there were you TP'd people, not to because you hated them. You TP'd them because it was fun.
Yeah.
And so the most popular people got TP'd all the time. Mike Bagley, who was at the top of my street, who was very popular, he got TP'd by Aaron Ferguson and B.B. Earnshaw and some of the other ladies who were. I saw Aaron Ferguson
popular. Really?
Yeah, I saw her, and she still got it. She looks fantastic. Yep. Tracy Heath looks great. They all still look great. The men, no. The men are all fat, bald, and old.
Well, we've caught up to them. We've caught up to them.
Yeah, now we look good. You're right. This is our time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was getting TP'd like every week, and I'm like, oh my God, I've made it. I'm getting teepeed, and I didn't know exactly who, but I was like, okay. And I remember coming out and just my mother and dad would be just like, God damn, and I would just be elated that I was being teepeed. And at one point, I'm pulling down, I'm cleaning it up, happy cleaning it up. And Paul Hingler, my nemesis, who was a bully, driving his little bike up the street, stopped, and he's like laughing at me. And something about the way he looked at me, and I realized, oh no. It's Paul Hingler who's been teeping me this whole time. It was such a horrible feeling.
You weren't part of the in crowd. You were part of
I was part of the out crowd. I was getting teepeed for the other reason, because I'm an idiot. Yeah. Somebody hates me. Oh, he's such a harsh stoke.
What was the other you were the Saga King though. You were the Saga King in high school.
Yes, but okay, you say Saga King like it's a good thing. You don't understand. Right. So we went to the Shawnee Mission West Vikings, the home of the Vikings. That was our high school. And the yearbook was called Saga.
Right.
And I was the yearbook king. That's a hell of a lot different than being the homecoming king.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I thought it made, I thought it made me kind of like get closer to being popular, but really all the people were just looking at me and laughing. Saga King.
It was like an offshoot of it, You were
it was for the nerds. It was the king of the nerds. Right. That's what I was.
You were like the United States Football League compared to the NFL or something.
Yes.
You were still champions. Yes. The indoor football league. You were the indoor football league.
I was the indoor, or Canadian. Maybe I was just the Canadian league.
Yeah, you won the Canadian Super Bowl, So, in an article titled Taste and Fashion, The Social Functioning of Fashion and Style, Jukka Gronow says...
Jukka Gronow?
I guess that's a Jukka. I don't know, is that...
Wow. Jukka.
Must be Danish or something. Jukka. Yeah. I'm pronouncing it Jukka.
Hey, Jukka, we're all going out to a fixed meal. It's going to be $200 each. You want to come?
I can't really afford it. I'm working on my thesis, but...
Come on, okay. Jukka.
Jukka's living in her car for the rest of the semester.
Let's go GP at this house.
She says, in the classical European humanistic tradition, fashion was always thought to be antithetical to good taste. And she says, a person blindly following the whims of fashion was without style, whereas a man of style, or a gentleman, used his own power of judgment. So in other words, it reminds me a lot. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to. So to be a man of good taste, you dress crappy and make fun of the people who are dressing in style. Right. Well, then I have great taste because I do that all the time.
Yeah, I think this is the path I took. It was like you just do your own thing. You don't listen to what real fashion is. Like real style is not fashion. Real style is just doing your own thing.
Yes.
And it reminds me, I read John Lydon from the Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten, wrote an autobiography. And in that, he made a really good point. He was saying how, the real punk movement was about doing whatever you wanted to do. It wasn't about dressing like a punk or having a mohawk or whatever. And he talks about, the reason they used safety pins on their clothes was that they were so broke and they couldn't get their clothes mended, so they would use safety pin, and then suddenly safety pins became like the symbol of the punk movement.
With it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. Anything that's sort of original will eventually become, mainstreamed and then it's ruined and then you need to move on. It's no longer innovative.
Right. And Gronow notes she refers to Immanuel Kant, who was a philosopher in the 1700s. Who said,
so hard to read. Can you read Kant? You probably can.
Not really. I read articles of people who have read Kant. So they translate it for me.
He'll have one sentence that goes a page and a half. It's like, dude, seriously? Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
He was being paid by the word back then.
Yeah. Not by the punctuation.
But anyway, Kant in the 1700s said that fashion has nothing to do with genuine judgments of taste, but is a case of unreflected and blind imitation. As such,
He's one of
it is the
us.
he must. Somebody was making fun of him. He was getting TP'd. Whatever they used, they were.
Yeah. Hey, cunt.
Hey, bookworm. Hey, bookworm. Come
Hey,
over here.
bookworm.
Slap his books down. As such, it is the opposite of good taste. It stems only from human vanity and social competition in which men try to get the better of each other and improve their social status. So again, we get back to, even in the 1700s, Kant was talking about fashion is all about improving your social status compared to other people.
That's like the old dude driving the Porsche.
Yeah. Yeah.
He thinks everybody's looking at him because he's cool, but everybody's looking at him because he's an idiot. That he's just driving a penis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to drive a really nice, expensive sports car because everybody's going to look at you like you're an asshole.
Unless you're a woman. Women can do it, especially if it has a dent in it. Like a woman, I think there's nothing more attractive than a woman driving a Porsche that's like dirty and she doesn't even care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And gay men can pull off almost anything. I don't know why or how, but they can just do it. But straight white dudes like you and me, no, we're done. We're done.
And then like the guy in the like old guy, probably in his like late 60s, 70s, in the brand new Corvette, has to park all the way at the end of the parking lot because he's so afraid. He's so afraid of anything happening to it.
That's right. Because he's worked, from his point of view, he's worked his whole life to finally be able to have his dream car, only to look like an asshole in a dream car. What are we all doing?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
The whole car culture thing is so stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, if I hear one more what do you call it? The electric car, the fancy
Tesla.
The Tesla. Sorry, I had I don't know. I almost had a stroke there. One more guy talking about is Tesla, about how he's doing it because he's environmentally conscious.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna say it.
You're gonna go.
I'm gonna stand up.
Really?
I'm gonna say, well, what about all the precious stones that little kids had to mine in Africa so you can have your touchscreen thing? What about, all of the things in that car that'll never? What about the oil that turns the turbines that charges your car, you dummy?
Right.
And it's a luxury car. You can't be an environmentalist and be into luxury at the same time. No, it's wrong and bad.
Right. And then you'll sit down and finish the seventh course of your prefix. Be like, come on, John, just eat your appetizer.
Yeah, what happened to him? Give him some wine. He doesn't drink. Oh, okay.
That's why he's just unhappy. He's unhappy. He doesn't get this.
Unhappy.
Okay. How do you feel about fashion? Do you feel that you're fashionable? Do you feel like naturally you?
I'm not fashionable. I've been told I have a little style, which is interesting, and that's I don't know. I wear I like cardigans. I like chinos or pants. I don't know if they're called chinos, but slacks that and I wear boots. So I can kind of pull it off. I did buy these glasses, and I bought them just because I like the way they look. And when I came home, my kids noticed this part, which means they're Gucci, and they were like, "Dad, it's Gucci." And I was like, "What? What do you mean? Where does it say Gucci? It doesn't. It says it really small." But they're like, the green and the red, Gucci. So I guess
those are nice.
I know. I just like the way they look, but anyway, I do like good design. I admire good design. I admire good products. I admire good makes, like I love Red Wing boots. I love Red Wing boots. That's all I wear, really. I have 3 pairs and I've broken them all in, and those are my shoes. I wear them all the time.
And you could take them back. They'll shine them for you. Put in new laces. You can always
they'll dip it in. Well, what they do is dip it in oil. You just take it in the back. There's a vat of oil. They'll here.
it's like taking your car into the shop or something where you take your
Yeah.
boots and
Oh, I
just
love
lay
those
them out
boots.
there.
There's nothing better than a good
Yeah.
pair of boots that fit you
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Oh, that are broken in. It's like wearing 2 baseball gloves. It's just
Right.
fantastic.
Right. And when they wear out, it's like a good pair of jeans when you finally find it. I don't wear
Mhm.
jeans anymore. I can't wear jeans anymore. At a
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
point, I think men reach a point where it's like, maybe you shouldn't be
Mhm.
wearing jeans anymore.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. I have one pair, but I'll tell you this though. I have one pair, and when I wear them, that's the only time my kids will ever say, "Hey, Dad, you look good."
Really? You still got it.
Yeah.
You still got it.
I still can pull them off somehow.
How about jean shorts? You ever think about cutting those off?
Oh, I wore those all the time. I wore those as underwear. I have those on all the time.
All right. So Gronow, she also talks about Georg Simmel, who was a philosopher, a German philosopher
Jeez,
back.
Georg. Hey,
Georg.
Georg.
George. I'll change it to George.
No, he's Georg. We've just TP'd your house.
Georg Simmel. Yeah, these guys all sound like people who probably
Nerdy.
weren't. I mean, just what they were
Yeah.
writing about. It's like maybe you weren't in the in crowd at that time.
Yeah. Who's that guy over in the corner just scribbling stuff in? Oh, that's Georg.
Yeah, he keeps looking at us and then scribbling something down. He looks upset. But he felt that fashion is a socially acceptable and safe way to distinguish oneself from others. And at the same time, it satisfies the individual's need for social adaptation.
Now
So he
that
felt
part,
that,
yes,
yeah,
that it serves a purpose. That it serves a
right,
purpose, a way of defining ourselves, and that I agree. Until other people take it on, so
right,
you look
right,
at people. Generally, people who are poor are the people who start trends,
right,
like your
right,
example of the punks, because the clothing is all you have. You don't have a car. You
right,
don't have anything else. That's all you have to express yourself.
right,
But then somebody sees that, a designer then is inspired by that, then they design it, and then pretty soon, JC Penney is selling them, and then it's over.
right, right. And that's what the Carolyn Korsmeyer says, that practically speaking, the results of the exercise of taste seems to be a pendulum between constancy and change,
Mm,
between shared pleasures and contested disagreements. So it's like a
mm,
pendulum, like we were
mm.
talking, what you were just saying, like it's constantly changing. Kind of, it's part
Right,
of culture, but it's like culture. It's like you can't stop fashion, you can't stop taste because it's
right,
always evolving.
right.
Uh, and she says, we'll coalesce around something that everyone kind of accepts as good taste. And then
Mhm.
somebody on the outskirts, usually somebody poor, like you, you
Yeah,
were saying, or somebody will start doing something differently. And then we'll argue about that for a while of like, oh, that's bad taste. What are they doing? That's bad taste. That's bad taste. Uh, and then at some point, we go over to what they were doing.
right,
That they were
right.
doing, and suddenly we consider that to be bad taste. Even the people that were writing against it as bad taste will suddenly say, well, okay, now that's good taste. That's good taste.
Because that's what happens. We all become the thing we hate the most in life. We eventually will all
Amen, brother.
be the douche in the Porsche. The douche in the Porsche. That's gonna be my autobiography, the douche in the Porsche.
Yeah. But Mary says, I once said, Mary was like, you never cry. You never cry. And I said, there's more to crying than tears. So
Oh,
she,
that's
she
so
has,
sweet.
so now
Yeah,
she
I've
says
never seen you
that
cry either. I've never seen you
I
cry, I
cry.
don't think.
I cry on
Yeah,
the
I don't
inside.
on the inside. Yeah, you're emotionally a fit person. I mean,
Right.
you have emotions, but yeah, I've never seen a tear. I rarely. We're not allowed to.
Really.
Men aren't supposed
Really.
to, right? We were trained not to do that. It's so weird.
I don't know. I go for a long drive and just bawl my eyes out. What happened to me? What happened to me? Uh, but remember, I mean, you think about things. Remember, feathered hair parted in the middle back in the
Hell
70s?
yes, Mike Bagley.
I know.
He was the king of that, and he had that
Yeah.
big comb in the
Oh,
back, and
yeah.
he could roller skate. He had his own skates, and
Oh,
he could
God.
backward skate. He had it all. He
Yeah.
had it all.
Yeah. The
He's a
people who
nice
could
guy, though.
a dude who could roller skate backwards
Oh,
all the
forget
girls
it.
wanted to
Yes,
go out with
because
him.
then they could skate the snowball with him, the snowball dance.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
could skate back and they could skate forward.
Yeah. Did you have the I seem to remember you having the feathered hair, didn't you? Or
No, I
parted in the
tried, but my hair wouldn't feather. It was too straight. So it'd be a part in the middle and just come down on either side.
Yeah, that was the same with me. I had a horrible cowlick, it was like really came out. And I would spend hours trying to get my hair to part in the middle, and it was just like, nope, nope,
Nope.
nope. And I think I'll have to try to find it. There's one of my school class photos. You have me trying to part it in the middle, and it just looks awful.
We gotta see that. Please post
Yeah.
that. Please post
Yeah,
that.
I'll try to find it. How about what were some of the other things like Izons? Were you into Izons? Are Izons still popular?
They've come back in a new way, and you occasionally see that. Well, Andre 2000 brought them back, I think. But anyway, they were too expensive. We couldn't afford them. They were like, even back then, this was like in the 80s, they were like $50 or something. I remember.
Yeah. And then turning the collar. I wear the collar up on these things, these half turtlenecks.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you zip it up. That's different than just the collars up.
Yeah, I'm like Urkel.
The whole preppy thing. Yeah, you're more. Well, Urkel, you know what? Urkel had his style. Urkel had his glasses and his style.
How about jeans? Jordache jeans? Were you?
I never wore a pair of Jordache. I saw my daughter. Here's the thing: my kids don't buy new clothes. Yeah. Everything is they find in Goodwill or everything, but mainly because there's an environmental reason behind it. Because there's a big problem with clothes on this planet.
Right.
We have mountains of them, and so they'll buy used clothing. But so occasionally I'll see some of those old. Like my daughter had a pair of Jordache. I was like, Jordache? She's like, yeah, I found them. They're really cool. Yeah. And she rocked it because she didn't know they were, she wasn't trying to be Brooke Shields. Right. She was,
Right. I that's the thing with me because I grew up, my mom would have to buy clothes from Goodwill. Right. And so I was always embarrassed about it. So that was the reason now I'm like, I want new clothes. It's like I've been because I was always so embarrassed that everything I was wearing was from Goodwill, even though it would end up being like trendy. If I had just waited.
You always seemed like you were dressed well. You pulled it off. You had a certain style in high school.
Yeah, it was like they were talking about the style of someone who's just give up and just try to do your own thing and try to make that
that's the thing about style. If you just keep doing it, eventually it'll come back around.
Yeah. Ooh, but it's tough. It's tough.
It's tough.
Like, how long do you give it? How long do you give it?
Those 30 years in between are rough.
For that time, nobody talked to me. Nobody wanted to go out with me. Everybody threw things at me. But now I'm back in. I'm in.
You are in.
And another thing, if you think about fashion, I remember when I lived in France, I used to always because I had the long hair, the round glasses, in ripped jeans. Every time I go outside the dorm, I was getting stopped by the police. Yes. put up against the wall and searched.
Yes.
And then one time I put on a tie. Same thing, ripped jeans, round glasses, long hair. I put on a tie and suddenly cops stopped stopping me. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
So it was
That's amazing. I had long hair I had long hair for a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember when I cut it off, I got into an elevator and there was a older woman who was well dressed, like a Beverly Hills type woman.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, nice weather we're having." And I looked at her like, "What?" Because those types of people would never talk to me.
Yeah.
When I had long hair.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it's still you one day later, even a couple hours later after your haircut, and still suddenly it changes how people see you in the world as well. So let's go back. So Korsmeyer also says that in the 18th century, philosophers used the term taste to refer to a natural disposition to be receptive to beauties of nature and art, including capacities for refined discernment, of aesthetic qualities. So,
right. That's what people with their nose in the wine glass would argue. They're like,
yeah,
look, this is really
yeah,
good wine. Let me enjoy it and see, yeah.
right, right. And so because it was a natural disposition, philosophers at that time felt that taste was part of human nature. So that we, like you were saying earlier, we all had the ability to develop good taste, or we all had some taste of some
So
sort.
are you saying it's sort of a survival thing? Like you've got to have good taste because you get better quality stuff that keeps you around. Like, I don't like that kind of meat, and I don't like the way it tastes because it's not as good for you. Or
I don't know. It's talking about like being able to distinguish what is actually beautiful, as if there's
I see
an objective beauty in the world, and you're
Oh,
more in
okay.
tune to that objective beauty in the world. Like
These are the Greeks. This comes from the Greeks.
right,
The
exactly.
truth,
It is.
right? Yeah.
It's Plato. It's like there's a form
Oh,
there. Uh,
Plato.
yeah. And so, and she says that, at that time, the possession of good taste, because it took time and money, basically, in the 19th century to develop taste.
Yeah.
Once again, it separated people into groups where preferences are not only different, but also ranked. So,
Yes.
and so I think about, like, we think of like, well, people with good taste, obviously know something, right? But why do they become more popular? Or we think people with better taste become more popular. It's
Or is it that they are they become popular for other reasons, and then we want to emulate them, so we try to emulate the way they dress and act and do.
Yeah, possibly. But everybody, like if you think about the popular group, whenever that popular group was, whether it be back in the 40s or 50s or 70s or 80s, what was it that was really making them popular? Because
I think it's looks. They're just and this is sort of goes back to the Greek thing. They're just beautiful people. They just look good to start with.
Yeah.
And then and that's I think that's a big part of it, because there were plenty of popular people who were not good at conversation, were not interesting, were not all that bright, but God, they looked good. It must be weird going through life as being gorgeous,
Right.
it must be a whole different world, where it's like, just everything. Oh, you keep it, everybody's just trying to please you.
Yeah,
because you
and
just look
everybody's
so
just
good.
automatically accepting of you, or like there's a predisposition to accept you. They want to accept you because you look gorgeous.
Yeah.
Dang, I wouldn't know.
So then it is survival. You're very handsome. It's survival of the fittest, man. It all comes back to Darwin. You want to propagate the species, and you choose your mate by how attractive that. God, we're still just ruled by this little reptilian brain stem.
Yeah. And Korsmeyer, she makes a good point that even if you're trying to intentionally be tasteless, like a lot of people will go the other way.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm not going to be part of the popular group and be tasteful. I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to be tasteless.
Yeah.
She says you're still influenced by that kind of cultural idea of what is good taste. Like, even to be against it, you're acknowledging it and accepting it. Yeah.
That makes total sense. So we're all caught up in the same trap. We just play it out slightly differently.
Isn't that awful? Even if you're like, I'm not going to do that, you're doing it.
Right.
The other thing she talks about is the effect that marketing has on our taste.
Yeah.
Because successful marketing actually widens the taste of audiences to how new objects that they can consume, is what she says.
Absolutely. And merchandising too, of how it's placed, where it's placed, how in the store, how we're guided towards it. Yes. And then as we got better and better with communication, to the point now where we can talk to anybody in the world anytime we want, now it's over. Now we've built a prison of our own making, where once something's decided, we all just fall in line. It's crazy.
Yeah. But you know,
it's not like a totalitarian leader that's going to end it. It's our own big brains.
Right.
We're this organism that's a totalitarian leader. We're our own totalitarian leader.
We become our own big brothers, I guess.
Yes.
We're determining through marketing what people should do and what their behavior should be, and if it's a wrong behavior or not. And then she, Korsmeyer also talks about like, well, what happened, marketing will kind of force something on us, which is probably inorganic, because it's like it's telling us what's popular, as far as clothes or shoes or whatever.
Yeah, but don't you think at its core it has to have something like that's real, that it's seen, like, that like they see like poor people, like, the safety pin thing,
right?
Some guy sees that and he's like, oh, I'm gonna market leather jackets with safety pins all over.
Right. So it's appealing. You're saying it's appealing to something innate in it, something
that's developed, and then somebody's trying to make money off of it.
Right.
Or maybe these designers are all, they get what is how to dress beautiful people, basically.
Right.
And then we all buy it because we want to be the beautiful people.
Yeah, of course, Mario said, at a certain point, then we all start doing it. And then when everybody starts doing it, suddenly it's not cool anymore. Suddenly it's not in good taste, and we turn against it.
Yes. Yes. It's just like Keanu Reeves in the movie. It's like the one is reborn every time. The one comes, he gets killed, he tries, he gets killed, and then it's born again.
Right.
Because we had to invent money, and I blame the I don't know, the first generation, the first society that started at the Tigris and the Euphrates. They had to invent some trade which led to currency, and then it's over. Once you're just trying to get currency, then forget about it.
Yeah,
because then everybody joins in. No,
your sandals, cool. your wrap up sandals going up to your knees aren't cool anymore.
No,
those aren't cool because you're trying too hard. You're trying too hard.
Have you heard about boots? These weird people. The Canaanites are wearing boots.
Another example. Remember REM in college, when we were in college? REM, there were like certain people who would just be into REM,
right?
But not everybody was into REM.
No, not at all. I went to an REM concert where they basically just hung a sheet behind them and had a. It was terrible.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
Yeah,
and
I was never into REM, and I remember people asking me. They kind of throw it out to test it, like if you were cool, if you had good taste or not.
Yeah.
They would be like, "Hey, do you have any REM?" Or "Hey, do you have listen to this cassette of REM or something?" And it was kind of a way to feel the waters about what taste you had. In other words, distinguishing them as having good taste and me not having good taste for not.
It was a terrible time for music from my point of view, because we were coming off with the 80s. I know they look back at the 80s are like a great time for music. Not from my point of view.
Yeah.
Because there was there was nothing hard rock. There was nothing that rocked. Everything was pop and REM just didn't do it for me. It wasn't until Guns N' Roses and then the grunge movement. That's when I was like back in the saddle.
Yeah.
And then I heard Nirvana, and it was all over. I was just like, oh my God.
I remember when that came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But remember, it was once REM broke towards the like late 80s, early 90s, and suddenly everybody loved REM.
Stand in the place where you live now, face west. Yeah.
And suddenly all of those people, they didn't like REM anymore.
No.
Or it was like, and it's the same thing happened to The Cure. Like people will talk about, well, before The Cure hit it big, we loved The Cure when they were doing more punk stuff, more dark gothic stuff. And then they hit big, which as an artist, I completely understand. Like you want to make some money. You don't want to work as much as you used to.
That's right. It's exhausting being poor.
Yeah. Same thing with Beanie Babies. Remember Beanie Babies?
Beanie Babies. Wasn't your mom really into Beanie Babies? Yes.
My mother would get into it because she worked next to a Hallmark store in Kansas City. So she was able to go over to the Hallmark store early on when Beanie Babies were just coming out and she would just buy them because she loved them. It was authentic. It was very punk. You know what I mean? My mother just loved Beanie Babies because she loved,
They made her happy.
Right. And we made fun of her for getting those Beanie Babies. Well, the whole family, like, oh, I can't believe you're right. And she'd give us Beanie Babies. And because she worked next to the Beanie Baby store, she was able to be like the first in line when it opened to get the brand new Beanie Babies when they came out. So suddenly when the Beanie Baby craze hit, my mother had a very expensive collection of Beanie Babies.
That is incredible. That's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Didn't she sell them off when you guys needed money?
Well, she would, when she would come up to Chicago all the time to see our shows, or come out to LA to see our shows, she would just go into her collection and sell a couple Beanie Babies for the money to come out and visit.
That's insanity, isn't it? That's just insanity.
Yeah, God. Because everybody wanted them at that time. And I remember my brothers and I tried to get into it, but it was too late. You know what I mean? After we had made fun of her for so long, and she was so honest and authentic about it.
Well, that's the way I am with investments in general. Like somebody, somebody says, "Hey, have you heard about what's the blockchain stuff?" And I'm like, "Look, yes, I have heard about it. And if I've heard about it, that means it's over."
Yeah, everybody's heard about it at that point.
If it's gotten down to me, then it's already over. Sell whatever you've got. Sell.
That's interesting. You mentioned stock, because that's basically it too. Whatever becomes popular, that's another taste or fashion about like just trying to figure out what's popular at the moment.
Yes.
In his book, Why You Like It, The Science and Culture of Musical Taste, Nolan Gasser says, in the domain of aesthetics, the notion of taste, musical or otherwise, is viewed as a reflection of one's sophistication, culture, and breeding, as one's ability to perceive the subtleties of beauty and morality within an art object. So once again, we're getting back to this idea of people like to think if you have good taste, you're seeing something that everyone else isn't seeing in the world.
That's important. That's super important and core, a core thing that is actually of value. And but you finding and noticing that it's of value now makes you look cool.
Right. And it's almost, what was it when your dad showed you his apartment on top of that building in the plaza? It was like God. he told you you will appreciate. Like there was a communion between you and your dad of like he knew that you would appreciate.
Yeah.
That
well,
apartment.
It was this little, it wasn't even an apartment. It was built to hold air conditioning units to keep them. But then they couldn't do that. For some reason, and they turned it into an apartment, and it was just this little box on top of a high rise in the plaza, which is this kind of fancy place. And so he would tell people, "Yeah, I live in the plaza," and everybody thought he lived in some of these fancy apartments in the plaza. No, he lived in an air conditioning unit. But the cool thing about it, did you
was
ever
the same
go
way.
in?
Yeah, I did, but after he passed away, I went in there.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And it was like a concrete room. It was like a cell. He was in there living like a monk, but beautiful view out of the top.
Beautiful view. And for him, that's all he cared about. And so, he's cool. It is cool.
Yeah, he was cool. It was cool.
But,
yeah. But what did you think when you went in? When he said to you, "You will appreciate"? I
don't know. I don't know what. I guess he thought that I was a minimalist and would enjoy that like he did. I think maybe he meant the view, that I would enjoy the view, but I don't really care about views. I mean, I like views, but all these people who live up in the Hollywood Hills, I'm always like, what? I mean, for the view, you drive up all these crazy roads just to get a pack of cigarettes. It just seems crazy.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I remember being impressed when you told me about your dad's. You told me about your dad living on the plaza. I was like, well, maybe Ray's doing pretty good.
Nope.
So Gasser notes David Hume's work on the standard of taste.
Hume, another one. God, is he hard to read?
Yeah, this is it's amazing that these guys were writing about it in the 1700s, in the
Yeah.
1750s, talking about taste and fashion and
Uh-huh.
popularity, and it's still
Well,
applicable today. It's still applicable today.
yeah, because to your point, I think that you're making is that there is some core thing of value there, but
Right,
it's just how we express it and why we express it. Like,
right,
am I
right,
sniffing into the glass of wine in order to actually do whatever you're supposed to be smelling for? I guess a
right.
vinegary smell or something anyway.
Yeah,
Or am I doing it so that people see that I know what I'm doing,
right,
and
right.
then that becomes a totally different thing. It's inauthentic.
I yeah, I saw that last night of the table next to us had ordered a bottle of wine at dinner, and they brought it out, and it was just two middle-aged women, and the waiter brought it out, opened it, obviously had to pour some into a glass and give it to somebody. And you know that they don't know they don't know what they're sniffing, and probably the waiter doesn't. At this place, the waiter probably doesn't know what he's sniffing.
Yeah.
And yet we have to go through this charade of
Yep.
pretending that we know that this is a good, and of course everybody's always going to say it's a good bottle. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
acceptable. I'll take that. Yeah.
I was about to say I've never seen anybody send a bottle back.
You should.
And let me
That's a,
let me let me tell you, if you are one of those people, you're eating spit on your food.
yeah, yeah.
Why would anybody be cruel or mean or rude to the person who's feeding you is
Right,
beyond me.
right,
Beyond
right.
me.
I think the
It's
thing
just
to
not
be
hot enough. Don't know.
no,
It's gonna spit in my food too.
yeah, you know it's going to happen. To be like this, like try to show people that you really know what you're. Send back that bottle of wine, even if you like it.
Oh,
You're like, oh
don't
no,
do it.
no, no, no.
No, somebody's gonna pee in it or
Yeah, but then
something.
don't drink it. Don't drink it. Is the
Don't
whole
drink.
thing.
Yeah, send it back. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, send it back,
Yes.
but then don't drink it. Got
Yeah,
it.
they'll think you really know what you're talking about. Um, so, so Hume said that although opinions toward artworks may be subjective, the works themselves reveal the degree to which they do or don't meet the standards of being truly praiseworthy. And that's again talking about Plato
Okay.
form. Like there's an
Yeah. Like
objective
there's
beauty out there. There's a formal beauty out there in the world somewhere.
Yes, but isn't
So,
it all just an extension of us propagating the species? Like we see the lines in a beautiful person that
right,
influences a designer how they design a Corvette, but it all
right,
comes back
right,
to I'm looking for the best looking person to mate with
right,
so that
right.
the species brings the best genes on
Yeah. Yeah,
forward.
maybe that sports car is like instead of being, well, 60,000 years ago, oh, that guy has a lot of pelts hanging out
Exactly.
in his, now he's
Exactly.
got this sports car or something that sets
And
it
the
out.
lines of sports cars are, perhaps they are influenced by the lines of the curves of a woman
Right.
or,
Hey, hey
these
now.
things that
Yeah.
well, they are. They're like you're talking about that ultimate beauty, like, as if it's
Right.
beauty, but really it's not. It's just I think it's just to get us to to fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And think about all the when you see like the calendars and all the posters of the muscle cars, and the woman's always in like a
E
bikini or something. That's what it's
exactly.
doing. It's trying to
Sex.
subconsciously tell you like this is what you're going to get if you have a sports car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And as
Yep.
we both know,
It doesn't
it's not,
work. Well, it did, but I still
yeah.
had set. Well, I actually was dating in high school. The woman I dated in high school was above my station. She didn't
Really?
know it. She didn't know
Yeah.
it. That's the best. You
Right.
find
Right.
somebody who's slightly above your station.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
she figure it out through the course?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And then left me for Robbie McGuire.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Uh anyway, but what Hume also felt that it was up to the true critic with a capital TRUE, true critic, to identify a worthy work of art. So,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
were supposed to teach people what it was to just see what was truly beautiful, and then that way people could learn about
Oh, I
what they
hate
should be
those
following.
people. I hate those people. You know why
Yeah,
it's good, don't you? No, I
yeah,
don't. I don't.
yeah. It's always hard with comedy too. Comedy is hard because people are always, well, why is that funny? People want you to explain why something is funny. It's like,
I know. And as soon as you go down that road, you're as far away from funny as possible.
I know. You just kill it by asking what is funny.
Yeah. The logic. We used to call them the logic police when we were dealing with networks and stuff. There would always be some executive who go, but that person would never say it. And I'd be like, I remember I said it a number of times. I'd be like, you got to understand, funny trumps logic.
Right.
If it's funny, we'll figure out why she said it. We'll justify it.
Because sometimes it's the way it looks, it's the way it sounds. You don't know why it's funny. It just makes people laugh.
Which is what makes it so. The fact that it's such chaos and it's so hard to pin down is what makes it so wonderful. And that's the thing that attracts me to it.
So John, you and I have done a lot of shows together.
Yes, we have.
And we've had some good reviews. And we've had some bad reviews as well about the shows that we.
Yes.
How do you feel about reviews and critics about your shows that you do?
I think it's a terrible way to go. It's just fortunately now with it used to be, there would be one newspaper. If you got a bad review, your show was over. Now with the internet and everything else, there's so much noise out there. They've lost their power. But even so, it's in one person's hands to decide whether a show is good or not. I don't know. I mean, I understand that. Here's the thing. You talk to a New Yorker, somebody who reads the New York Times, and they'll start talking about all these books, the latest books, and then you ask them, have you read them? No. They read the book review.
Right.
All these New Yorkers, none of them are reading the books. They're just reading the reviews of the books. And I guess that's the problem I have. I have never once read a review before to decide whether I'm going to watch a TV show.
Right. That's the same with me. And in fact, if it's a bad review, it almost makes me want to watch it more to see what was so bad about it.
That's because you've been in the business of getting reviews and you know that it's bullshit.
Yeah. But I always figure if you get all good reviews, you're doing something wrong.
That's true.
It means that you're not pushing any boundaries of anything. Yep. And if you get all bad reviews, you've done something wrong. Because maybe you really aren't funny and maybe it does suck. If everybody hates it.
I think that's true. If you take it in the numbers, you get it, in the wash. Yeah. We talked about Yoko Ono of how hated she was.
Right.
Because her taste was totally different from the fans of the Beatles. But then over time, and she was just oh my God, ridiculed. But if you can get into her work, you realize what John realized, which was that she was this really interesting, truly exceptional artist.
Right. I think she was light years ahead of where they were as far as like really artistic, obscure artistic taste. You know what I mean?
They were pop singers. They were about getting the largest number of people to buy their music. And she was not. She was about trying to do stuff that had never been done before. And some of it worked, some of it didn't. But she took a very, she was just is a really fascinating woman.
Right. I agree. But it's interesting. I always know, even though consciously that this is just one person's opinion, it still hurts to get a bad review. It kills you to get a bad review, even though you can intellectualize it and say, oh, that's just one opinion. And I know there's nothing worse than when you're in the middle of a run and the bad review comes out, or or like the worst thing is like when some people get a good review, some people get a bad review in the same production. And then you go backstage and it just kills a production when you get that bad review.
It's funny the people who will tell you about your bad reviews, who will bring it up. Yeah. I remember my father-in-law saying after you and I did a show in off Broadway and we got creamed. And my father-in-law said, "Hey, what about a bad review, huh? The New York Times review." And I was like,
yeah.
Thanks for bringing it up.
I know. First of all, I still disagree with that review. And I don't think anybody reads the New York Times out of New York. It's a local paper. But I still,
I saw him in the audience, and I knew as I was doing the show that he wasn't liking it.
Yeah. But again, it's like you could say, well, in the part of me, I kind of liked it because it's like to be panned by the New York Times feels, I mean, it feels awful and it feels good at the same time. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because my very first TV show, 10 Items or Less, got a rave review from the New York Times. And, so then it's like a big deal. It is more of value.
Yeah,
when you get panned, I know. Oh, that's just one guy. Screw him.
I know, that's what's so bad. And you can't help doing it. You can't help doing it. A good review, you think, oh, they really know what they're talking about. A bad review, it's like, oh, that person doesn't know. And I had, when Looking Glass produced a play that I had, translated from a French novel. And one of the people that reviewed it was a woman I had known for years through the Italian Tourist Board. She had used to write just like kind of fluff travel articles for an Italian American newspaper.
Oh no.
And she, had become an art critic or a theater critic for one of the big Chicago papers. And she called me up and talked to me she interviewed me about it. And I was like, I know her. I know this is probably going to be a good review. I talked to her about it. And I say, well, the play's about somebody who takes someone else's artwork and then pretends that it's their own. And then they can't reproduce that quality of artwork. And then they realize that, they're kind of a failure at their own core. And I think I made the comment of, I think all of us deep down are liars about something when it comes to our social position.
Right.
And I don't know if that struck because if she thought I was talking about her, because knowing that she had come up just writing for this Italian American newspaper or what.
Right.
But when it came out, she gave me a bad review.
Damn her.
A bad review. Yeah.
So, well, it's funny because the artist is looking at the review as a way to promote their art, and because like for a theater, we just want butts in the seats, and you just see it as a marketing thing. But from the critic, it's like this platonic. I've got to find what's good in the world,
right? Right, exactly. But it was so hard. I mean, it's I don't know. It's when you think you've got something that You think you have an in. You never have an in when it comes to taste and artwork.
No.
So, and the worst thing you could do is
they have a thing called the TCAs out here in Hollyweird. So if you're on a show, you go to the TCAs, which is the Television Critics Association, where they all are flown out by the studios. All these critics are flown out, hoping that they'll give some good marketing to the shows. And these people, and you and you just see them, you just hang out with them, and you're just like, oh yeah, they're just bitter. A lot of them. I mean, there's all kinds of but it's, you're just like, oh man, okay.
Yeah. All right, John. So I guess we should be just wrapping up a little bit. I guess in conclusion, I would hope that this sheds some light on how taste, popularity, and status are all tied up together and give us our position in the social and cultural hierarchy. So
you said it, brother.
Whether we want to believe it or not, it's the idea that we have good taste or bad taste. We're positioning ourselves on that ladder.
Whether you're pushing back against it or going with the flow, it's still you have to recognize it.
Right. And it's all just like culture itself. It's all arbitrary and it's constantly changing. So I don't know how you escape that desire for acceptance and popularity and esteem and status. How you deal with it.
I think it is a part of being human. Thus, the reason we're having it on our show. We need, because those same qualities that make somebody popular make somebody want to have sex with you.
Right.
And that's, as vermin that we are, our job is to make more of us to survive.
Ultimately.
Yeah. And we just can't get past that.
Right.
Until we all turn into pure energy after they put chips in our heads.
Just in closing, I will say, God, those are beautiful glasses you're wearing.
Thank you so much. They're, I don't know if you know, they're Gucci.
I wear Giorgio Armani's. I don't know if you know this.
Hey, and just not to offend you or anything, but you should try some jeans. You'd look good in jeans.
Oh, no, I can't do them anymore. I made the conscious decision. It was almost like taking them out in the backyard and burning them in a barrel. You know what I mean? It was like, I'm not pulling them off anymore.
But they made your butt look good. Look, let me ask you this: did you wear jeans when you were wooing your wife? Did you ever go out and wear jeans when you went out with Mary?
I think I may have worn some jeans.
Okay.
Like nice jeans, though, like black jeans. You know, I went for the black jeans, like a more sophisticated jean.
Why don't you get yourself a pair of jeans and out there while you're on vacation?
We're going to a New Year's Eve gala here at the hotel tonight. Maybe I'll go down to the gift shop and see what they have.
Take pictures. Take pictures. That's fantastic.
All right. In closing, I'll say thanks for listening, everyone. John, thank you so much for your insights on everything.
And thank you for coming to us remote.
Oh, yeah. This was
out in the Southwest.
Believe me, there's no van outside with a satellite dish out here. It's just me on a little desk in the hotel room. But if you enjoyed this podcast and found it interesting, please tell a friend about it, and please be sure to give us a good review.
Yeah, God damn it,
we're begging you. Please give us
not because we want you to like us, but we want you to get other people to like us.
Right, it'll show your good taste. It'll get people listening to this show.
Well,
all right, John.
Human number 2 signing off.
And this is Human number 1. Thanks again, everyone. Happy New Year, John. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later.